You're listening to the Unstoppable Teen Podcast, episode number 27. Welcome to Unstoppable Teen, the podcast for teenagers, parents, and teachers. My name is Kevin Mincher. Every week, we will bring you an inspirational person or message to help you experience more success and happiness. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's get this party started. Hello, Unstoppable Nation, it's Kevin here. Welcome to the show. In this episode, we're going to focus on what you can do to get better grades. The reason we're going to do that is because I've received some questions recently from parents and from students asking questions like Nick, who's a parent, who got in touch to say, my son has got some really important final tests and exams coming up in high school this year, and I want to know what I can do as a parent to help him get the best grades possible. On the other hand, we got a separate message from a student called Michaela, who's in a similar situation to Nick's son, in that she's got some tests and exams coming up and she feels like she's fallen behind. She's not getting the grades that she wanted, and she wants some tips, some strategies, some ideas that can help her get back on track before it's too late. That's what this episode is going to be all about. You see, here in the UK right now, and of course I don't know where you're listening, but here in the UK, lots of students in the last month or so completed some mock exams, or in other words, some practice exams. They're not the real ones, they're coming up in a few months' time. But when students get their mock exam results, they kind of fit into one of four categories. When you get your mock exams, your practice exams, you get some results, and many schools will put on an example results day. In other words, they'll set up the school hall as if it really were the actual day when you were getting your final tests and exam results that determine, like in America, whether you're going to graduate or not. So it's a big deal. And they put on this practice day where you've completed your mock exams and then you've got to turn up, and usually you get handed an envelope, and you open up the envelope and your results are inside. And the butterflies are going in your stomach and you're thinking, did I get the grades I wanted or did I not? Now, when students open up that envelope and see the results, they'll tend to fit in one of four categories. When you get your mock exam results, there are four responses that students have. The first response is that you may be a student that got the results that you wanted. And because you got the results you wanted, you're feeling motivated, you're feeling inspired. You're excited, you're delighted, and it kind of gives you that little boost of optimism and energy to push forward for the next few months to get over the final line of the real tests and exams that are coming up in the summertime. On the other hand, you might be a student that got the grades that you wanted in your mock practice tests, and as a result of that, you're now getting a little bit lazy. You might have fallen into that trap of thinking, well, that was easier than I thought. I can now take my foot off the gas. I don't have to try so hard. I'm clearly doing better than I thought I was doing. This is going to be easy. What a mistake to make. On the other hand, you might be the third kind of student who did not get the results that they wanted. They did their mock exams, they messed up, they opened up that envelope, and the results weren't good. And because they weren't good, they're now motivated to try and make it better. They're determined to turn it around. It's kind of given them a little bit of a kick up the backside to say, I ain't settling for second best. There's no way I want the long-term consequences of failure. I'm going to get my head back in the game, and while I've still got time on my side, I'm going to push on and do the best I can. On the other hand, there's the fourth kind of student who, when they opened up their mock exam results and looked, they also did not get the results that they wanted. But as a result of it, they choose to be demoralized. They start to have thoughts like, well, what's the point of me even trying? I'm obviously going to fail anyway. I may as well not even bother. Now, I don't know which one of those four kinds of students you are when you got your last update of how well you were doing. I don't know whether you were on track or off track. I don't know whether you're feeling motivated, inspired, or whether you're feeling lethargic, apathetic, or lazy. But what I do know is that in this episode, I'm going to give you something really important that you need to do as soon as possible if you want to get the best grades possible. encourage you to not predict or try and second guess what I'm going to tell you to do if you want to improve your grades. Here's the thing. Oftentimes when people ask for advice, they're already anticipating what they think their answer is going to be before they even get the answer. And oftentimes when students and parents ask my opinions about what they can do to get better grades, they automatically start to think I'm going to tell them to do things that are study skills, memory techniques, revision skills, accelerated learning methods. And they, in this case, would be wrong. Indeed, in future episodes, we are going to give all kinds of little tips and techniques that you can do to boost your memory, revise more effectively, and succeed in tests and exams. But today, there's one massive thing that you need to do before those study skills. You see, we've been doing some research here at Unstoppable Teen. Indeed, you can get involved in that research if you want. You see, we have a survey that's on our website that asks questions about the things that are proven to lead to better grades for students in high school. In fact, there are 21 things that have been proven to help students get better grades. And in this survey that's online, we ask 57 different questions that are all targeted and tagged against those 21 things that are proven to make a big difference. In that survey, there's a sequence of questions that focus on a student's level of engagement and how much they value learning. You see, how much you value your learning, how much you are engaged in school. In other words, how enthusiastic you are, how passionate you are about expanding your knowledge and mastering new skills will have a massive impact on how well you actually make progress in school. If you have very little enthusiasm for learning, if you hate it, if you do anything to avoid it, if you don't think school is important and you don't value education, then inevitably you won't concentrate as much in class. You won't put forth as much effort. When the going gets tough, you're more likely to quit. On the other hand, if you're the kind of student that does value learning, that thinks that grades are important, that have this passion inside to upskill and master as many things as you possibly can, gain as much knowledge, and that you have that love of learning, then of course, inevitably, you're going to have more energy in your lessons. You're going to keep going when the going gets tough. You're going to be more resilient when you start to struggle. And that will make a big difference when it comes to your final grades. So engagement, passion for learning, your enthusiasm in the classroom is a really accurate indicator of how well you're actually likely to do in your final scores. And one of the things that has a massive impact on how much you value learning and education are the relationships that you have in your life. And that's why in the survey, we ask a series of 3 questions. By the way, if you want to take the survey, it's completely free of charge. You can measure how well you're doing, how well your son's doing, how well your students are doing in these 21 key areas. And all you have to do if you want to get involved and do the survey for free is simply go to unstoppableteen.com. That's our website, unstoppableteen.com. And on that homepage near the top, right at the top, in fact, you'll see a green button that says Start Here. And if you click on that green button that says Start Here, you'll be directed to a page where you can read an article and you can take the survey. Like I said, it's completely free. Now, in that survey, there are 3 questions that we ask. And it's to do with your relationships. You see, the relationships you have will have a massive impact on your attitudes to learning. And so we ask, the first question that we ask about when it comes to the relationships is, to what extent do your parents make you feel that education and learning is important? The second question we ask is, to what extent do your teachers make you feel that education and learning is important? And then third and finally, we ask the question, to what extent do your peers, your friends, make you feel that education and learning is important? Now, the answers that we get are quite remarkable. Students tell us when they complete the survey that 85 to 95% of parents are saying to their kids that education is important. That's really interesting. You would have hoped that that would be higher, right? But it's still quite high. You probably won't be surprised that when we ask, to what extent do your teachers make you feel that education and learning is important, then 90 to 95% of students say, yeah, my teachers make me feel that education is important. To some extent, that's a little bit shocking that it's not 100%. But anyway, that's the answer that the students give. Now, those are both high. We've got 85 to 95% of parents are making their students feel that education and learning is important. We've got 90 to 95% of teachers making their students feel that education and learning is important. But what percentage do you think of peers, teenagers' friends, make them feel that education is important? Well, sadly, or even frustratingly, only 50 to 55% of teenagers say that their friends, their peers, make them feel that education is important. In other words, we've got a youth culture problem where somehow, some way, it's become not cool to learn. The irony is that learning is an essential ingredient of success. You can't show me a successful individual in any industry that hasn't had to learn and master many things to get to where they are. And whether that's professional football, whether that's professional musicians, whether it's medics and doctors, whether it's lawyers, whether it's politicians, whether it's entrepreneurs, if you want to get to the top of any industry, learning, education, continuous growth and development, improving things is an essential part of that process. So when we've got lots of parents encouraging their students to learn, and when we've got lots of teachers encouraging their students to learn, but then teenagers themselves are dragging themselves down, this makes no sense. Because I've never met one single teenager whose goal in life it was to fail, to struggle in life. I've never met one teenager who said, when I'm in my 20s, I really just want to be moping around and struggling to pay the bills, hardly have anywhere decent to live, where there's a leak in the roof, a car that keeps breaking down. That's what I really want in life. It's never happened. Every teenager I meet wants a great future. They want brilliant friends. They want to live in a beautiful house. They want to drive a nice car. They want to go on spectacular holidays. But somehow they haven't made the connection in their head that they need to encourage each other in the pursuit of knowledge and in the pursuit of mastery, of skills and education that's going to help them get there. So, if you want to get better grades, whether that's this year or at some point in the future, you need to surround yourself with positive people. And it seems like we've got lots of positive teachers that are encouraging us to do better in school. We've got lots of positive parents that are encouraging us to do better in school. Now, you need to surround yourself with a positive peer group that will encourage you to do better in school. We've got to create this shift in youth culture. Now, you might be listening to this right now thinking, but what can I do? I'm just this one individual. How on earth am I supposed to change youth culture? Well, culture is created by individuals. And when you add up enough individuals, you've got the culture of a community. So what I'm saying to you is this. The first thing you need to do is choose your friends carefully. And where possible, choose friends that are already engaged in learning. They're passionate. It doesn't have to be in the same subjects as you, but they think it's okay to do homework, that they think it's okay to ask questions in class, that they think it's okay to do research and go out of your way to learn more. Where you can't choose those kinds of positive peers, you need to become that kind of positive peer. You need to set the tone within your peer group. By becoming what Errol Lawson called in a previous episode, you need to become an adder and a multiplier. In other words, you need to become the leader in your peer group that says it's great to learn, that says it's fantastic to do your best in school. You've got to become that kind of person that encourages your mates to pursue their goals, to have ambitions and strive for their dreams. You've got to be that kind of student who goes out their way to help other students. You need to say to your classmates, I believe in you. You can do it. And when you become that kind of positive person, you'll then give permission to other people for them to behave in the same way. You give them the permission to become positive and optimistic. You give them the permission to ask questions in class. Every peer group wants a leader, and you can be your peer group's leader, even if you didn't have that role in the past. The next bit of advice is for the parents. We had Nick earlier on asking that question about what he could do to help his son. And so the first thing I want to say to parents that are listening is you've got to foster a home environment that shows that you value education. It's important that your child goes to school each day knowing that you're fully supportive of them, that you'll go out of your way to encourage them to advance as far as possible in their education and to upskill, to develop their knowledge, to get better. The way you can do that is to ask motivational questions at home. Oftentimes, when students come home from school at the end of the day, their parents might ask questions like, how was school? And they'll get a response like, not bad, same old, or rubbish again. Well, that's not a particularly good question. And so some parents will ask a different question. They'll say, well, what did you learn today? Now, that's a better question, but there are other questions that you could also ask that are also important. And a motivational question, you need to ask these kinds of questions if you want to inspire your child to study more. Motivational questions get at purpose. They get at what's driving somebody. So in other words, you could ask a question like, why is learning important? Now, if you ask that question to your son or daughter, they'll start to reflect on the purpose of education, why grades are important, why it's important to get better qualifications. If you ask questions like, why do you want to do well in school? Or what's it going to cost you if you don't do your best over the next few months? And what do you stand to gain by giving it your best shot and getting the best grades possible? Now, they are motivational questions that drive a person's ambition and will help to unleash that inner drive. It'll light that fire inside. Why is learning important? Why do you want to get good grades? What would it cost you if you were to fail? What do you stand to gain when you succeed? Motivational questions. And as a parent, when you ask those questions, in fact, when you're a teenager and you ask those questions to your mates, and when you ask those questions to yourself, you'll become more engaged in your learning. And when you become more engaged, you'll have more energy for it, you'll be more concentrated, and inevitably, according to the research, your grades go up. The other thing, if you're a parent that's listening right now, that you can do is do something positive to influence your teenager's peer group and to specifically influence their attitude to learning. You've got to make it cool to learn. And you can do that in many different ways. One silly little simple thing is you can say something like, if you've got your teenagers' friends around and they've come over for dinner, or they're going to watch a movie together, or they just knocked on the door, they showed up, maybe they're going to go out somewhere, you can throw in a random factoid. You can go, I learned this really cool thing today. And by being enthusiastic and passionate about learning, you give them permission to do so too. It's the old adage about leadership that you have to be the role model. You have to set an example for the things that you want to be. Or as Gandhi put it, you got to be the change you want to see in the world. So if you become a parent that is engaged in learning, and if you have a passion for growth and education, then your child is more likely to become engaged in learning and have a passion for growth and education. You got to be the change you want to see in the world. If you're not engaged in education, if you can't be bothered to turn up for parents' evenings, if you don't ask questions about what they're learning in school, why would you expect your child to be bothered about learning and education and becoming more engaged in school? The other thing that you can do to influence your teenager's peer group is to put on a fun quiz night. And you can turn it into like a pretend TV game show. You could pick their favorite game show and you could design a quiz or a competition. And you could split your son or your daughter's friends up into two teams, and you can make it a competition. And you can create some kind of little fun prize. And you can ask them questions based on the subjects that they're studying, whether it's English, math, science, history, geography, foreign languages. It doesn't matter. But you can turn a TV game show into a fun evening. Your son or your daughter will be learning, their friends will be learning, without even knowing that they're doing it. They're just having a blast. In fact, what you could even do is invite your friends' parents around, and you can have the young uns against the old uns. You can turn it into an inter-family quiz competition. And if you find ways like that to be innovative, to make learning fun and engaging, then inevitably your son or daughter will end up catching that little virus, that positive virus that catches on where you want to go to school each day and learn even more. The final batch of tips here I've got about how you can improve your grades through improving your attitudes towards learning. These tips here are for the teachers. Now, as I say, these are for the teachers. Be careful, if you're not a teacher, you might switch off. In fact, you might be able to nick these little techniques and use them if you're a parent. You might be able to nick these little techniques also if you're a student. So here goes. We need to make learning cool. And one of the ways that teachers can do that, parents and teenagers, you can do it as well, is you can share celebrity stories where a famous person did well in school, or even better, is doing well in school now. There are so many celebrities right now that are studying for their own tests and exams, whether that's because they want to advance their own career or just out of personal interest. There are all kinds of actors and singers and musicians and athletes that are in their spare time enrolled in a college or a university course so they can get themselves a degree. There are rappers and famous people that have put themselves back into school so they can finally graduate high school. Do you know who those people are? Do you talk about those people to your son, your daughter, your students in your classroom? That when they see that those famous people are engaged in learning, it gives them permission as students to engage too. So I encourage you to share those celebrity stories. I also encourage you to share stats and facts, research that's showing how when you get a better education, it leads to better career prospects. And inevitably, when you've got better career prospects, you earn more money, which then opens up all kinds of opportunities to live in a nicer neighborhood, to drive a nicer car, go on great holidays, engage yourself in all kinds of fantastic hobbies that you perhaps previously couldn't afford. I genuinely believe that education in all its forms, whether it's the traditional form in school or whether it's just in a relaxed manner at home where you're studying and learning on your own, that learning, education is the key to success and happiness. And if you want to get better grades, and whether that's Michaela that wrote in this week or Nick that wants to help his son, the first thing, the most important thing you need to do is become engaged in learning. Develop a passion for it. Develop some enthusiasm. You'll develop that passion for learning and that enthusiasm for learning if you're surrounded with positive people and if you become one of those positive people that says learning is cool and it's the way to create your dreams. I hope that you found this episode useful. Of course, we couldn't cover everything on how to get better grades in one simple podcast. That's why we're going to be back over the next few weeks and months interviewing experts and sharing my own tips and strategies for memory techniques, revision skills, and how to prepare for tests and exams. If you're impatient and you want more information right now about what you can do to improve your grades beyond upgrading your relationships, surrounding yourself with positive peers and becoming more engaged and having that passion for learning. If you want more and you want it now, then there are two simple things you can do. First thing I want to encourage you to do is download the Unstoppable Teen app. It's free and it doesn't matter whether you're on an iPhone or an Android device, you can go and get it in your respective app store. And inside the app, there's a neat little in-app purchase that's an optional extra if you want it. It's called Get the Grades. And inside that program, I share 7 strategies that students can use to get better grades. They're the same strategies that I share in my Get the Grades You Want seminar. I'm packed out at the moment delivering seminars in schools, so much so that I've been finding it really difficult to find the time to record these podcasts. Now, we have got a couple of openings over the next couple of months before the final tests and exams come up. So if you'd like me to come to your school, if you'd like me to deliver my Get the Grades You Want seminar to your classmates, to your students, to your child, then please go to unstoppableteen.com and then click on the button for schools. On the main navigation, there's a section for schools, and there you can find out all about my Get the Grade You Want seminar and what you need to do if you want to book me to come into your school and share those strategies. Of course, there are no guarantees in life. And whether it's in the app, whether it's in the seminar, or whether it's the things I've shared in this podcast, I can't guarantee. And for that matter, nobody can guarantee that you're going to get certain grades. But the research and the evidence does suggest that what other people have done in the past, when they've sorted out their friendships, when they've created a culture where people aspire to learn more, that makes a big difference and it helps you get better grades. I hope you found this episode useful. If you did, please share it with people that might be struggling with their grades at the moment. Pass it on to your family members and friends. Be sure to subscribe. This is a weekly show and it's completely free content. There's no excuses anymore for people to say, oh, I couldn't afford it. It's free, so we're here to help you. And you probably know we're on a mission to help at least 1 million young people experience a better quality of life. And part of that is helping them get the best grades possible. So be sure to subscribe. You can do that on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Stitcher. You can also do it at our website, unstoppableteen.com. If you want to get the show notes to today's episode, simply go to unstoppableteen.com/27. This is episode 27. And on that page, you'll find all of the links to all of the resources that we've mentioned in here. Thank you for listening. And please come back next week when we'll give you more hints, more tips, and more ideas that will help you become truly unstoppable. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.